Hi Emily, how are you doing today?
I'm great. How are you?
Good, doing good, thank you. Actually, it's night time for you, right? It's here. It's just gone past 10 a.m. in the morning. 6, 7 o'clock, right?
Yeah.
In
It's getting pretty
downtown LA?
right in the valley. I live in the valley.
In the valley, right? That's
Uh-huh.
great. Well, thank you very much for your time. We've tried to finally got together after a long time of emails and messaging each other. So I appreciate your time. I know you're super busy, but first question I wanted to ask, just like with everybody, we've got through 2020.
Yes.
It's been a hell of a ride for everybody, and especially for you in the US. I mean, can you tell us about yourself and how you've got through it, and are you and your family staying safe?
Yes, sure. Thank you for asking. Yeah, 2020 was a crazy ride. Who ever expected that to happen?
Yeah, that's right.
So, yeah, it was I had to pivot a lot during 2020 because I had four movies lined up, and they all got postponed or canceled or, this.
Mm,
So it was a lot to just kind of be like, oh, okay, well, now what am I going to do? You know what I mean?
that's
Like,
right. Yes.
two of my movies were coming to theaters, Fear Farm and Castle Freak, and then those got pulled from theaters and just released streaming on streaming services, which is fine. Happy that they
Mm,
were released. But there was just a lot of pivoting, and my family is spread out, all over the United States. We're on the East Coast, West Coast, and Middle. So not being able to visit them or really see them
yes.
as often as we like to do. I'm super close with my family, so it's a little hard. But I fortunately have such a great friend. She actually lives right below me, and so she and I have spent a lot of time together, which is
Right.
really great. So she has been like a solid rock during COVID, which is fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely. And were you able to go see your family for Christmas? Or no?
We didn't. So typically for Christmas, we go back to New York and then we go to
No.
Baltimore. But because of COVID, my brother and I went to Denver and we stayed with my sister and brother-in-law. So we felt comfortable.
Right.
We got tested before, quarantined before, got tested in Denver. And then after that, we didn't go anywhere there. We just stayed in my sister's house. But so I was able to see my siblings over Christmas, which was more than I thought I would be able to do.
That's really, really cool. And tell us about like the US and California. Every time I turn the TV on, it's all about the USA. You've got a new president. You've got something's happening in the US. But
Yeah.
how is it now? Is it doing okay? I'm seeing like you got the vaccines now, which is really awesome.
Yeah, so it's funny because my brother lives in New York City, which was the epicenter at one point,
Yes.
and then
Yes.
I'm over in LA, and so yeah, it's getting a lot better. My brother can go back to work, which is
Oh,
great.
that's great.
And the vaccine is becoming more prevalent, or I'm sorry, more readily available. So yeah, things are looking up in 2021. So
Good, good.
yeah.
And for you personally, are you getting back, doing movies? Are you able to do that, or are you still restricted? Or what's happening there?
So I did one movie last year,
Mm,
right at the end of the year, right in November into December in Oklahoma, called Hostage House. And that was the only thing that I did. And, the COVID protocols there were super strict, which they should be, no issues there.
yes.
We're thankful for that. It's still pretty slow, actually, for me anyway. There
Mm,
are a couple things, it's starting to pick back up, I guess, but it's still rather slow. So still
yes.
more thing, but that's okay.
And what are you doing in this period? Are you just sort of planning for the future, or are you still sort of uh, working out, like still sort of eating healthy? What big, what are you doing in this period? Is a
So
bit like everybody.
I know a lot of it is just kind of, staying home and in
Mm,
quarantine, trying to, really abide by those rules. But when I'm home, I watch a lot of horror movies.
come on.
I'm doing a lot of research in horror movies and doing a lot of puzzles. But every Monday, my family still, like, extended family and my immediate family, we have a Zoom call every Monday for about an hour or so. So I do that. Actually, on Thursdays, I do a cooking class, a virtual cooking class with some friends.
Come on.
Yeah, so, I'm finding things. I'm trying to spend this time to really focus on creative outlets and,
Yes.
write some things and just kind
Awesome.
of get in touch creatively since I have the time.
Yeah. I think, you've got your cooking class right after this, I do believe, right? So we've got to be on a schedule, right? That's great. Well, it's good to see that you're still active in this sort of time. So let's talk about like the new movie that's just will come out in February, I do believe, 4th of December. No, 4th of December, right?
Oh, yes, Castle Freak.
Castle Freak.
Yes.
So let's talk about this and how you said it got delayed. So tell us how you got involved with this and tell us everything about it, really. I'm very interested to know.
Sure. I adore this movie. I love this movie. I stand by everything in this movie. So I don't know if you've seen the original Castle Freak that came out in '95 with Jeffrey Combs and Barbara Crampton. So I love that movie.
Right.
I have always loved that original, and so when my agent reached out to me, I was like, "Hey, I want you to audition, or you got auditions coming in for Castle Freak," and I was like, "The Castle Freak?" So I auditioned, and typically when you audition for something, you do it, and then you don't get your hopes up. You just move on to the next thing, right? Because if you got your hopes up for every single thing, you don't. There's a lot of no's in this industry.
Yes.
So I really wanted this one, though. I really wanted this. Unfortunately, I booked it. So, thanks to my agent, Leo. And I mean, what an experience. I think I might have left 2 weeks after I booked it to Albania. We filmed it all in Albania, even the parts that are supposed to be Massachusetts, that was still filmed in Albania.
Right.
We were there for, I think the whole production took a little over a month to do. It was a fantastic experience. I mean, I have never filmed in a real castle before.
Right.
So the location was fantastic. Albania, people don't think to ever travel there, but it's right next to Greece, so you have all those wonderful beaches.
Yeah, right.
And everyone is so kind, and it's inexpensive. Oh, it was such a fantastic experience. And what we tried to bill it as is not a remake of Castle Freak, but a reimagining, because we found that a lot of people were, they kept saying, well, this is nothing like the original. We're like, well, that wasn't the point. Like,
the reason. Yes.
It's a classic. But I'm really proud of ours because we have a lot of nods to the original, but then we made it our own standalone story, which is very heavily based in Lovecraftian, in his works and Lovecraft's works.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I love it. It's wild. It's a wild movie, but I love it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's even in the first scene is like very intense. Like the girl there, she. But tell us about Albania. I'm very interested to find out about this because we actually had a girl. I had a girl, an author, come on from Albania and talk about a couple of books. So tell us about that whole experience. Like, was the visa process difficult? How long did you stay there for? And
So I was there. I had a passport, so I was just able to use my passport. I mean, I don't know if the production worked something out where that was fine. I'm not sure, but so it was super easy because I already had one. And I flew over. I was there for a couple of weeks, and when
this was pre-COVID, by the way, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
2019.
Right.
So, the cool thing about it was I wasn't filming every day. So me and my co-star, Eli, he played Chuck in the movie, he and I had a lot of the same days off. And so we would just go explore Albania together.
That's
or
great.
explore Castle together. Yeah. It's so charming and so beautiful there. It's just, oh my gosh, it's incredible. I can't say enough good things about it. I want to go back in a heartbeat. I mean, in a second I would go back. It's such a great place. And, just experiencing other cultures and other food and just how people live over there. I don't know, it was fantastic. And we spent the first part of our time in Tirana, the capital. And then the second half of the movie, we went to Eurocaster. And that's where the castle was. And then we finished filming everything there.
Right. And what was the main reason behind Albania? Was it because of was it cheaper to go there, or they didn't have castles in the US, or?
So Matt and Justin, two of the producers from Castle Freak, I think it was I know it was Justin, and I also think it was Matt, but I know Justin for sure had filmed a trauma movie over in Albania, and so he had some ties already over there. And so I think when, the original Castle Freak takes place in Italy, and so, they knew that they wanted to do it abroad if they could, and because Justin had those ties with Albania already, he just kind of called, and he told a funny story about when he was filming Trauma, about how just wonderful the Albanian people are, that they needed a Navy ship, right? And you can't get that in the United States. Like, the Navy is going to be like, yeah, use our ship. But over in Albania, I guess, they called and they were like, yeah, we have a ship you can use. I mean,
yes.
I don't know how easy it was to get the castle, but they were able to get it, and I do think it's a lot cheaper, to film over there.
Yeah, absolutely. So come out December 4th, I do read here. So did you get to do like a red carpet, like a premiere in LA, or was it?
Didn't, because of COVID. So it was supposed to premiere at the Chattanooga Film Festival, I think April 14th, but everything shut down in March, and so they postponed the festival. But then when things got worse and worse, they thought about doing something in July, kind of like a New Year's Eve, like coming to you in Australia, Craig, or coming to you in Los Angeles, like, right? And so we would have our own kind of viewing parties. But then, I mean, they were hoping to rent theaters out for us to do that, and then with COVID, they couldn't. So eventually, they had to release it, which is sad. It would have been really fun to have that premiere, but I'm just, again, so thankful that the movie came out.
It got out, in these times. And tell us, where can we find Castle Freak?
Sure. It's free on Shudder if you subscribe to Shudder. And then it's also on Prime, and I believe on YouTube and, all the other places that you can pretty much stream. But it's definitely on Shudder and Prime, I know for sure. Great.
Awesome. All right. So let's go back. Into your sort of career. Let's go way back. So I do believe you were born in Baltimore in the US. So for people from Australia, they might be a little bit. So whereabouts is Baltimore?
Baltimore, it's in Maryland, so it's the capital of Maryland on the East Coast. It's right next to Pennsylvania. So yeah, East Coast, cold. Well, I guess where I was in Maryland, it sometimes got cold, but not as cold as, say, like New York or Pennsylvania would get.
So growing up there, it's not really like a small sort of town. It's a fairly big, like a couple of million people, right?
Yeah, Baltimore is a pretty big city.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And tell us, like growing up there in Baltimore, were your parents sort of involved in art, and how did you get involved in sort of being on stage? And tell us about that.
My dad is still a minister, a pastor. My mom's a retired teacher. So they weren't necessarily in the arts. I mean, they appreciate them very much, but they never necessarily did anything themselves. Right. I mean, they are both musical people. They played instruments growing up, but no, it's for the longest time, Craig, it's all I've ever wanted to do. I don't remember ever wanting to do anything else. And I mean, my parents are very supportive, and they always encouraged me to do what I wanted to do. They never said, well, I don't know, that's like a tough industry, maybe you should think about something a little more doable. They were always like, it's going to be hard, but I mean, yeah, if that's what your passion is, I mean, we support you. So yeah, I'm very lucky in that way.
That's really cool. Like, you hear of other parents forcing people to do this and to become actors, and at the very young age. But that's really, really cool. So was it Christian or Catholic that
my dad, he is Presbyterian.
Right.
So,
right. Okay. So were you going to like boarding schools? Were you going to like girls' school? How does that all work when you were?
So when I went to just a public school, and in second grade we moved to New York, and I went to a public school there as well. Actually, my high school was small. I think my graduating class, I think, was 69, 72 students. I mean, small. So growing up, I just did a lot of school plays and musicals.
Yes.
Did church musicals and plays and stuff. And then when I was in college, did the same, and kind of just went from there. It's always, I don't know, I just get such a thrill out of it. I love it.
Yes. Can you remember the first time that you actually got up on stage, and how did you sort of develop, learning your lines? It's always interesting to me how people do that, because even for me, like I'll have like a meeting or something, and I'll, want to have something that I see or want to say, and it's like, oh damn, I gotta, what is it? Okay, yeah, you know what I mean? So, how do you do it? Do you have any tricks, or do you have any sort of?
Well, when I was really little, I remember my mom would help me. She would say my lines, and then I would repeat them. She would say them, I would repeat them. It wasn't cool. But now what I do, and what I've been doing for years, is I'll just read the script over and over and over and over until I feel like, comfortable with it. And then what I'll do is like say, I don't know, here's the script. I'll roll up the paper and see the other person's line, and then can guess what my line is, and then I'll move on. And then once I get all of them, once like I nailed it and memorized everything, then I'll go to a friend and be off book, and we'll just say the lines together.
Right. It's very interesting to see how everybody it works for you. So that's really, really cool. So yeah, tell us about the first time that you can remember going up on stage. How old were you? What was the play?
Yeah, I mean, I was little, and it was a church, probably a Christmas Eve service. I was probably a sheep or an angel. But the first one that I actually remember doing, I mean, we did, in elementary school, we would always have these plays, and I remember I was a painter, and I don't know, and I would pretend to paint everything, and then from there in middle school, I remember doing, I got bigger roles than a painter.
Yes.
And then so on and so forth from there.
So you said that you moved to New York. How old were you when you moved to New York?
I was going into second grade. So however old you are in second grade.
All right. 7 or 8. Anyway, so New York. So this is where like you went to university, the State Uni of New York. Is that right?
Yeah, in Fredonia, New York.
And you were studying art. Is that correct?
Yeah, so I had 2 degrees. I did Spanish because my mom was a Spanish and chemistry teacher. So I did, but then also theater.
How is your Spanish now, by the way?
No bueno.
Yeah, you got to practice it, right?
Yeah, I haven't used it in so long. If I were to call my mom, and like talk to her for a couple of weeks in Spanish. I'm sure I would get it back, but it's been a really long time.
Right. So tell us about moving to New York. A bit of a difference coming from Baltimore. So what was that first sort of experiences like there?
Well, so I did eventually live in Manhattan, but we grew up near Buffalo, New York.
Right.
So very small town, which was different, from Baltimore, but it was nice, and it was actually really nice because, say for acting in school, I didn't have to beat out 1,000 other kids, you know what I mean? I was like, it was a small school, and so, when I auditioned, I had a really good chance of getting a part and all of that, and so it's funny to think about if we never moved, if I would still be doing, acting.
Yes.
Still be acting, but I don't know. I mean, I'm glad that we did move because all of that led me to here.
Now speaking, let's going back to Baltimore. I did have a little look on your Instagram, and I've noticed that we have a common interest. Baseball. You go with your father every year to the Baltimore Orioles games. I'm also a big Major League Baseball fan myself. So tell us, how did that all come about?
Oh man, my dad's side of the family, born and raised Orioles fans, right? And so I didn't know any better. Like, it was Orioles and that's it. A loyal girl. And so when we moved to New York, I still had this affinity for the Orioles. And it's funny because when I lived in New York City, the Orioles, they're in the same division. So I would go to the Yankee Stadium when they would play the Orioles. And it's funny because on the subway home, I'd be in my Orioles gear. Well, if the Orioles won, I had to, cover up. Do anything to me on the train. But if they lost, I also had to cover up because I would be heckled like, "Oh, the Orioles suck, you lost." So it was, it's tough being an Orioles fan because, they've seen better days, but there's always hope for this year.
Come on, there's always this year. Come on. And we were talking about it before. My dad has a Baltimore Orioles, Cal Ripken Jr. Now, for all the Australian listeners, Cal Ripken Jr. He still has the record for the most games played consecutively. It's like I'm not exactly sure, but it's like 16 or 17 seasons of like 160 games. I mean, he's just incredible player. And Dad's got the old Cal Ripken the orange jersey with the So and it was very interesting, like you saying, like being in New York with the Orioles. It was completely different for me here in Australia because it was like nobody watched baseball. We have all of our sports here in Australia. It was like cricket and rugby, and so it was just me and Dad watching all the baseball, and I'd have my Braves hat and jersey, and I'm like, who the hell is this? You know what I mean? So.
Love it.
Yeah, but I've been to the US a couple of times and went and saw my Braves play and went to Yankee Stadium. So it was a very good experience. So anyway, switching back. So you graduated from New York, and is that when you were starting to do plays, starting to get like real serious about wanting to be an actor?
It's so funny because so I moved to New York City being like, all right, this is it. Feet on the pavement. I'm going to, here it is. But I actually, because I was fresh out of college and I didn't have a lot of money and it's expensive there, I ended up having to get a job, right? And so the ironic thing is I was in New York to act and I never did one thing when I was there.
Right.
So actually what ended up happening was I worked for a great company, and I would never say anything bad about that company. I truly loved working there. But I was becoming not resentful, but I just wanted to act. I was like, what am I here if I'm not like acting? So I remember I went home one day from work and I typed in like a lunatic, circus jobs, found a tightrope position with
Yes.
the Lindas, and then I left my job. I left New York. I went to Florida. Was in the circus for a little bit, and that's what really got me back into like acting and like, okay, I need to perform. I need to do some sort of performing.
Yes.
Where it is. Yeah.
Tell us about this experience. I read that. I thought this was like a whole Google sort of hoax, like a joke thing, but you actually, it's actually true.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. Yeah, again, my parents, God bless them, they were like, sure you want to do that? I don't know if that's a good idea, but they're so supportive. They're like, okay, if you're going to go, we'll support you.
Yeah.
So, that's very sweet. But yeah, so I subleased my apartment in New York. I lived in, oh my gosh, a trailer that was, I don't know, the size of maybe a king bed. I mean, it was tiny.
Yes.
Me and my little dog. So I lived in this circus community in this little trailer. Every morning I would wake up. I had never tightrope before. I'd never done this before. In fact, I was really scared of heights, but I knew if I said that, I wouldn't be hired, right? So I left that out. So every morning I had to go out into like the, where we practiced behind all the trailers. And every morning I was like, oh my God, I have to like climb this 80-foot pole and just like I'm scared of heights. But you know what? I did it, and then I did it, and I did it, and I did it, and then I kind of conquered my fear of heights. But the thing is, with the Walendas, they don't use nets, right? Like that's what they're kind of not using nets, and doing the pyramids is what they're famous for. So, my mom was like, "What if you fall?" And I was like, I'm sure that when I'm practicing and learning, there'll be nets under me. Like, Mom, don't worry. But there wasn't, because what they said was if you learn, like if you get used to falling during practice, you're more likely to fall during a show. I know you would start 3 inches above the ground. And when you were comfortable, you would move to 4 feet, 4 or 5 feet. Then when you were comfortable with that, you would move to 10 feet. And then like the final, height but so it was always when you were comfortable.
Right.
You would move up.
That's amazing. Like it's just you've gone from New York to working in a circus. Again, who would have thought that would have happened? And how long were you there for? You would have met some very, very amazing and interesting people, right?
I did. I met the nicest people. I wasn't there too long just because we had a little bit of a family emergency, and so I left to kind of go back and take care of some family things. But it was a great experience, and I'm so glad I did it. I wouldn't change it for anything. I learned a lot about myself and what I was capable of doing, and I met some really great people. A
lot of independence, being strong as a person, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely. So you've thrown me off because this is not the time. This is not the timeline that I had. So where does this all sort of work into with Indianapolis, moving to Indianapolis?
So my aunt and uncle and 2 cousins live there, and I was just I went back to New York, after the circus, and I was tired of New York still, and so I called my aunt and my uncle, and I was like, do you mind if I just come stay with you guys for like a month? I just want to kind of figure out where I'm going to go next or whatever. And they're like, sure, come on down. So after the month was up, I fell in love with Indianapolis, and I lived in Fishers, Indiana, which is basically Indianapolis. And so I decided to move, and I started singing in a band, and then after. Whoa!
Let's back up here. Big music fan. I play in a band myself at the moment. So I want to talk about this. Tell us about this band, how it all formed, and did you release any music or?
I did not with the band. It was the Andrew Young band. He had won Star Search back in the day, like 89 something. Yeah. So he had been doing this for years and years and years. He had a band that he would travel around Indiana with, and the so I did mainly backup singing, and then
Sure.
I would do a couple of songs, you know, by myself. But it was mainly a cover band. Andrew would do some of his, excuse me, would do some of his originals, but mainly it was just like these fun covers from the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, and then like stuff that was on the radio. And so it was super fun. That band is so talented. The people in that band are, oh my gosh, extremely talented. So I would sing and, you know, just mainly do backup vocals. But, you know, we opened for some pretty big shows in Indiana, like the Summer Jam R&B shows. So that also was a great experience. Yeah.
That's really cool. And are you still singing now, or do you still
Not really.
karaoke?
I love karaoke. Karaoke.
Oh, well, that's very interesting that you did that, and no recordings. But anyway, so it was around this time that you started doing modeling. You're signed as with a modeling agent. So tell us how you did that, and with your music and with your tight ropes, and so tell us about that, how this all happened.
So I left the band because in the summertime it was Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. In the wintertime it was Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and so.
Oh, so you're like a professional musician, like.
Well, I mean, I don't know if you would say that, but we were very busy. And so
right.
it couldn't. Again, I really wanted to act, and I couldn't really commit to anything because most of my week was, you know, taken up with the band.
Right.
So I left to focus mainly on acting, and you know, I had always wanted to model, but I was like, well, I'm not a model. I don't know. I'm not like 5'10". I'm not this. I'm not that. I don't know. I don't think I could. And I kept saying that for years, like, I don't think I could do it. So then one day I was just sitting there, and I just said to myself, well, why couldn't I do it? Like, why not? At least I can try. Like, I can just commit myself and see. So I got a friend. I went to an art show, and I bought a piece of art from an artist, and he did photography, and so it was an expensive painting, and so he was like, in exchange for this, I'll take some photos of you. And I was like, oh, that's perfect, because I want to try to get into modeling. So we went to downtown Indianapolis, we took some photos, you know, this and that, and I submitted that into the agency, L Models, which I'm, you know, currently still with right now. And I remember I went in, and I was older. That's another thing too. I'm not old, but I didn't start when I was 13, you know, and a lot of models start when they're super young. And so I was like, I don't know if she's going to hire me. I don't know if she's going to, you know, bring me on. But anyway, I met with her a few times, and, you know, took some photos with her, and just said what I was into and how I act and this and that. And lo and behold, she saw something she liked in me, and I've been with them ever since. And I actually just had a shoot this morning, and I have another shoot tomorrow. And so she's still, even Indianapolis, she's still able to get me work out here. So I'm really thankful for her. Thanks, Leslie.
So tell us about like agents as well. Like, did they find you? Did you find them? How did that all happen? And even with like acting as well. Like, how do you find them? Do they find you? How does that all work?
So I found my modeling agent. You know, I submitted to her agency, and I've been with her now since 2016, I believe. But my acting agent, Leo, oh, he's the best. He actually reached out to me. He had seen a trailer of something that I had done, and it really, the trailer, he like was really intrigued by the trailer, and then after seeing that, he kind of dug into me, and he just cold emailed me. And honestly, I remember I was in Baltimore visiting my dad and my stepmom when I got the email, and I was like, I don't know about this. This seems too true. I don't know. I haven't done that many things. But they're like, no, it sounds legitimate. You should meet up with them when you get back and see, you know, what happens. Again, so supportive there. And I did, and I've been with Leo ever since, you know, for a couple of years now as well. And, you know, super thankful for him. He, you know, again, got me Castle Freak, and he's gotten me a lot of just really fantastic horror auditions and other auditions too, of course. Yeah, so really thankful for him.
That's really cool. So let's get back to the modeling part, because I'm always interested to know about this. You you get a lot of beautiful girls, especially in LA, trying to become models and trying to be actors, but the pressure of trying to always look good and beautiful. And for you, how do you deal with sort of the pressures of this?
I mean, I think it helps that I'm not 13. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like, I had great people surrounding me my whole life, a lot of support. And, I know what my worth is. And I know that if someone says no to me for a movie or for a modeling gig, I don't take it personally. You know what I mean?
Yes.
I've sat in on enough castings to know that it's not personal. I might be too short, or I might be too tall, or I might have blue eyes and they don't want to spend money on contacts, or you know what I mean?
Yes.
And so it is, I've learned to, this is how I am, this is how I look. It is sometimes a little, what's the word I'm looking for? You can self-doubt a lot when you go into a casting and you see 50 other people who look just like you, most of them skinnier than you, taller than you, this than you. But again, I know that maybe they don't want someone 2 inches taller. Maybe they want exactly what I look like, And so that's kind of how I've just, throughout, the years in the industry, that I've just really kind of told myself and reiterated to myself, it's like, if they want you, they're going to want you because of your talent. And you know what I mean? If you don't book something, well, then you don't book it. But, you can't kill yourself trying to.
That's right.
You know what I mean?
That's right. And I normally ask this question like at the end, but I think it's a good time to talk. So what advice would you give to like an up and coming inspiring actor or actress that wants to get in the big time, especially with people from Australia, from outside of the US, wanting to get into the Hollywood scene? It's very, very difficult. What advice would you give to them?
I honestly would say that you just have to hold on for the highs and the lows, because sometimes you are like on top of the world and you're like, yes, I'm doing it. And then you won't get a job for 2 months. And it's heated nose, and it's just like, what am I doing? And you second guess yourself. It's such a waiting game. And, you just have to keep at it. And I wish that there was something else, right? But just honestly have to keep at it. And if you keep at it and you keep auditioning, you're going to get a yes. Statistically, you're going to get a yes. But it's just like sticking it out when you so badly don't want to do it anymore because you're so frustrated and you're broke, this or you're that. But so my advice is honestly just have faith in yourself and keep going. Like, don't
stick
stop.
with it. Yeah. And don't listen to what people, sort of have to say,
It's so differently. What has worked for me might not work for you or the other person or this person. And what works for that person wouldn't necessarily work for me. Like, you can't compare yourself to people's journeys and what people have done in their career, or just because it's so different. And if you compare yourself to someone else, oh my gosh, you might as well just quit while you're ahead.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, absolutely. Great advice, by the way. So you signed your modeling contract, and then you said that you were in Baltimore, and you get the phone call from your agent. And is that when you say, okay, it's time to move to LA? Or was that like to tell us?
Yeah, no, I split my time actually for about 5 years in Indianapolis and LA. So I had built a house in Indy. And so when I was working, I would go to LA or wherever I needed to go, or wherever I was filming. Then when I wasn't filming, I would go back to Indiana. And that worked for, a good 5 years until, thank goodness, I just was booking more and more and more, and it didn't make sense to stay in Atlanta anymore, and so that's when I made the decision to move out full time.
Absolutely. So, what was your first sort of role with your new management? What did they get you? And tell us, how did you sort of prepare for this? And, you know, was it a while since you had to prepare for like an acting sort of role or on stage role? So tell us how all that happened.
I only had my agent for only a couple of years, 2 years maybe. So
Right.
everything else that I did, I just booked on by myself alone.
Right.
What I did, and I guess my advice for anyone who's starting and they don't know where to start, I started with a student film because even though the story might not be that good, you know, the schools always have the top of the line equipment. They're learning on the newest, you know, and greatest equipment. So your stuff is going to look very professional, and that's what people look for. Mm-hmm. So fortunately, the short film I did was actually really great. We won a bunch of awards for it. So I was very lucky in that way. So I took that and I made a demo reel from that, and then submitted with that, and then booked, you know, and just kind of slowly built my demo reel. And then I had done enough stuff on my own that I think that my agent saw that. And then the first thing I got with him was Castle Freak.
Right. There you go. So let's go back, because you did mention just then that you won awards. You actually won an award in 2017. And tell me if this is correct or not. You won Best Actress for the short film, New World. Is that right?
For New
Congratulations, that's amazing achievement. So how many short films were you into this? Like, is this like your fourth, fifth? Tell us. First one. My God.
Yeah.
What a natural. And you know, you're winning an award on your first movie. So tell us, how were you feeling at that time? I mean, come on.
It was, you know, Tommy Weber, he directed that film. He's a dear friend of mine still to this day. He's actually out in California now as well. And he's helped collaborate on a bunch of things. I just adore him, and he wrote this really great story. And, you know, it's funny because I was kind of late to the game on auditioning for that. They had actually already cast someone when I submitted for it. And they're like, oh, you know, sorry, we have someone already. But then they had to drop out, and so they reached back out to me and said, can you audition for this? Sure, no problem. And I booked it. So it's funny how, I mean, I wasn't even supposed to do that, but it was a great experience. All those people were just fantastic. And so we made this short, and the festival had, I don't remember how many were in, but New World won like 6 awards that night. I mean, it did really well. And yeah, I'm really thankful for that, because honestly, I used that in my reel for a long time, and that I just off of that film. So
yes. Really so after the award, after the movie, where did that sort of take you after that? Like, were you getting people then started calling you all of a sudden out of the blue saying, hey, can you come and audition?
No one called. I still had to submit to things, but right after that, I booked my first feature, and then after that, I booked another feature, and it just really, I will say, you know, I am very thankful, and I'm very lucky, because, I mean, it's still super hard. I'm not saying like, oh, it's been great and easy, and I've had the easiest time, because, oh my gosh, it's such a difficult industry. But I am very fortunate, and I am very thankful that, you know, I've been able to have, you know, the little bit of success that I've had in booking fairly regularly, knock on wood. So I'm just super thankful for that. Oh my goodness, I'm so thankful.
Yes. So the first feature film, it says here in 2019, you were there was another, you were nominated for
Palace.
Palace, yes.
Uh-huh.
Now, was this a feature film? Was this the first feature film that you're?
No, first feature film I did, it's not even out yet. We filmed it so long ago, years and years and years ago, called Mount Adams, and I don't know when that movie's ever coming out. I have no idea.
What? What happened there? They just oh wow, that's interesting.
No idea.
That's going to be like a cult, you know, people having it, you know, a copy of it, you know, it's going to be worth a fortune.
Yes. It's funny because I feel like I've learned so much since that movie. So I'm a little nervous to watch it actually. But no, Palace, that was, I don't know, I don't want to sound like, oh, I had done a bunch of features since then. I don't think that way, but I had done a bunch of features since then.
Yes.
And actually, Tommy, who I did New World with, that was his friend wrote and directed that. And he's like, hey, my friend Emily did New World with me. I think she'd be great for this role. And I auditioned then, that way. So I am lucky that I've met a lot of great people and made some really great connections. But yeah, so Palace, that also won a bunch of awards. I didn't win anything for that, but we were nominated for Best Ensemble Cast, and one of the actors in that movie also got a Best Actor award in a couple of different festivals. And so, yeah, it's funny because I mainly do horror, but the two movies that I've won awards for have been nominated for have not been horror movies.
Right. So tell us about that. Like, did it come to you? Like you said before that you're a big horror movie fan. Is this something that you wanted to do, or is it just something that just come out of the blue naturally?
Kind of came out of the blue. I had always wanted to act, right? That was forever. But I never really thought about horror. When I was little, I was terrified of horror. I thought it. And then, I don't know, something switched, and I just became obsessed with the genre. And watching it, oh my gosh, I watch horror movie almost every day. I love it. And so then I wanted to get into acting, into horror, because I love the genre so much. And now basically that's my goal, my hope for my career is to be the new Scream Queen.
Oh, come on. Let's keep going. So let's talk about the movies that come out last year, and then obviously with the COVID. So you said that it sort of stopped yours. So how far did you get up to? Like you brought out Castle Freak. So Fear Farm as well. That was done 2019, right? And then released in 2020. So I had Tiana Tuttle last year. Lovely girl. We had a great chat, and your name come up a couple of times. You're in the first movie, and it was the same producer, and then same with Fear Farm. So tell us about Fear Farm and some good times doing that movie.
I love Fear Farm. I know that I say that about these movies, but Fear Farm holds the nearest and dearest place in my heart, because I'm friends with people from other casts. I remain friends with a lot of those people, and I love them dearly. But there was just magic in a bottle on that set with those people. They're some of my honest to goodness best friends that I've ever made or had. I love them. And that whole that filming experience was just like a different universe. It was so much fun. We had so much fun on that set. We were constantly laughing. Yes. And I think that really shows through when you watch the movie, that we all just genuinely really love each other and appreciate each other.
Yeah, absolutely. The cornfields and the going through the maze, and it was very on set there, freezing cold, right? And no lights, very dark in the.
Yeah, it was, I think, maybe 17 degrees during the scene that I had found with Andy the Clown.
Right.
And Harpoon and all of that. It was so cold.
And he was like the director, right? The producer or the director? The big
coordinator.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Mario Rocha. He's so funny and so sweet. He's the best.
That was such a cool film. I ended up watching that. It's a really good film. Well done, Emily. That was great. And for 2021, there's no stopping you, Emily. Like, I've got it seems like a list of projects that you're doing for 2021, post-production, pre-production. And I forgot to mention also, you're also a producer as well, not only just a model and an actress and a tightroper and tightrope walker and a singer in a band, but a producer as well. So how did this come about? Was this from your university studies, or tell us about this?
No, so on Mount Adams, that first feature I did, I met our makeup artist and effects guru, Cameron Gates. He and I hit it off really well, and we both really, just loved the horror genre, and he's, that's what he does, is effects and stuff. And so we became really close and stayed close after we were done filming. And one day decided, let's make a short. Let's make a short film. Like, I want to learn this stuff. I don't know really anything about it. And so he had done a couple of things. And so we joined forces and we produced Hold Your Breath was the first short that we did. And then we did Offering, which will hopefully come out this year. That's our goal. That's our goal. And then I'm in the middle of a pre-production right now. I can't really talk about it, but a feature. So super excited about that because I had only really produced shorts before, and so I'm excited to take it to the next level and produce my first feature. So they're all horror, of course.
That's really cool. Like, and this is something like even when you sort of, I mean, I know you can act for such a long time, but this can be also something that you could do for a very, very long time too, right?
Absolutely. And it is a whole different animal, and that also has its stressors, but it's also very rewarding. And I'm thankful that I was able to dip my toes into it and kind of swim in that pond for a little bit, just because I am learning so much still. There's always so much to learn. You can never stop learning in this industry.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's right. In any sort of industry, actually. So 2021, like I said before, there's a huge list of projects that you have. Is there any that sort of like standing out? Like, are there any that, I know you don't want to give too much away, but is there any projects that you can sort of talk a little bit about that are coming out, that are about to be released? Or
so in this summer, this movie, it's currently called Hostage House. That may change, who knows. It's just a working title, but currently it's called Hostage House. That will come to TV in the summertime. I don't have a specific date yet, but it's a TV movie, and I'm excited about that. I play a villain, and I've never played an evil villain before.
Ooh,
so, yeah.
Wow.
So Desert Shadows was supposed to come out last year, but because of COVID, it was on hold. And so, as far as I know, that's still slated to come out this year. Not quite sure, but it's finished. And that's a horror drama. And oh gosh,
we've got Reflecting the Void, Savage Midlife, Angel of Mercy. I mean, come on.
Savage Midlife, I think that's still filming, and I'm pretty sure I go in June to film that. They filmed some of it already, but that's like a slapstick comedy. I also play a villain in that movie. I'm very excited.
Oh, come on. In a comedy as well. That's getting away from your horror.
I know. But I'm excited. It will be a new challenge. Reflecting the Void is still very, very pre-production, so I don't know too much about it yet. But you had on Eva as well, didn't you?
Yes, Eva Hamilton, yes.
But we don't really know too much about it yet. And then Angels of Mercy was something that I filmed actually a couple of years ago. And I'm assuming that it's coming out. Then you move on to something else, and you move on to something else, and you kind of just every day are like, I wonder if I'll hear something, but I don't know. So there's a bunch of stuff going on, which I'm really excited about and thankful for.
Wow, that is really, really cool. And I don't know where you're going to sleep or find time to breathe. And just quietly, what do your parents think of you being on movies and lots of blood and people dying and chainsaws and
They know that I love horror so much. So again, as always, very supportive, but I know that my whole family is just waiting for me to do like a romantic comedy. Just like, please, dying. Like, we hate seeing you die.
We want to show our friends, just a PG one. That's it. Very, very interesting. All right, Emily. So to wrap it up, it's a very sort of standard question, but what does the future hold for Emily Sweet?
Yeah, I'm really hoping to pick back up where we left off with COVID and really just dive back into the horror world. And my goal this year is to do 6 movies. It's a lofty goal, but you know what? I'm dedicated and I'm ready. And one of those, I'm, like I said, I'm pre-production of something that I'm producing right now, and so I'm really looking forward to getting that off the ground and doing that this year, and hopefully getting out this year or next year, depending. And yeah, I'm just really, really excited to get back to work. I can't wait to go back to work.
Yes, I think everybody is in that same boat, just trying to get back to a normal life, right? And also, have you ever been to Australia? And if not, when are you going to come to Australia?
Oh my gosh, that is on the top of my list. My sister in high school had a friend, a foreign exchange student, come from Australia, and they're still very close and they stay in touch. And she has another friend that lives in Australia, and I want to go there so badly.
Yeah. Yes, you should. Well, maybe not in this period, but we're doing good with the COVID, and so I think it'll be just a matter of time before we can all start traveling again. And exactly the opposite. I can't wait to get back to the US and see all my friends again. And
LA.
Yeah, come on. I'll get there. And we'll have a big party. Eva and Tiana and all the actress and that I've interviewed over there. Let's have one big party.
Love it.
Sounds good. All right, so to finish off, I just asked some some random sort of questions, and like your top 2 or 3 favorite different topics, and you just tell me off the top of your head, as of today, what are your 2 or 3 favorites? All right. Sure. Are you ready, Emily?
Ready.
All right. So we talked about it before. What are your top 3 favorite musical artists?
Radiohead, Depeche Mode, and Madonna.
Wow, that's really cool. Have you seen any of those bands play live? No? Okay. And movies, I know this is going to be a hard question. What are your top 3 movies? Actually, let's say your top 3 horror movies of all time, and then your top 3 all-time favorite movies.
Sure. In no particular order: High Tension, Reanimator, Come to Daddy.
Right.
And in general, overall, I'm so excluding horror, I'm going to say The Fall, American Animals, and we'll say Beetlejuice.
Beetlejuice, classic. And your top 3 favorite actors or actresses?
Helen Mirren, Evan Peters, Sarah Paulson.
Wow, you are good. Like the people, you're actually one of the best ones that I've had, because the other ones are just go, I don't know. Well, that's a hard question. You're doing very well. Okay, so your 3 top destinations that you've traveled to outside of the US? Countries.
That I want to travel to, or that I have traveled to?
Have traveled to.
Albania, Costa Rica, Thailand.
And where do you want to go to?
I want to go to Paris, Australia, and it's a tie between Tahiti and England.
Tell us about Thailand, your experience in Thailand. Been there a couple of times.
It was a random trip, a very random trip, and we went to Bangkok, and then we went to,
Okay.
Yes, we went there, and then we went to one other place, an island, and I can't remember for the life of me.
PP Island?
Yes.
PP Island?
Where we went. Yes. Were you there with me and I didn't know?
No, it's one of the big touristy. Yeah. You get a boat to. Yeah.
Got a boat. Yep.
That's awesome. All right. And cuisines, like food cuisines. What are your top 3 favorite food cuisines?
Top 2 are any Asian and Indian. Those are my 2 favorites.
Ooh.
Asian, I mean Thai, Chinese, Japanese, sushi, any of that, and then Indian, just Indian food. Those are my 2 favorites.
Interesting. All right. Sporting teams. Orioles. Top 3.
Anything Baltimore.
Anything Baltimore.
Ravens. Ravens for football. Orioles for baseball. Terrapins for college basketball.
Oh, now I did see that you were like a cheerleader for the minor league team. Is that in the Hoax or?
I was a mascot, not a cheerleader. So
mascot, that's it. There you go. There.
Suit on, the big Tasmanian devil suit, and I would go out there and dance and hype up the crowd.
Now it might be a little bit personal, but are you married? Children?
No, not married. Never been married. No children.
That's right. All right. Not yet. Okay. All right. And last question. Who is your greatest inspiration / hero?
RuPaul.
Why?
RuPaul Charles. I love that since forever, RuPaul has just been herself, she's in drag, and she stands up for what she believes in, and she's done so much for the LGBTQ community. I love her show. She says it how it is, and I just think RuPaul, he's funny, he's smart. I just adore him. I think he's the best. I look up to him a lot, just everything that he's done. And, it's not easy back then, for a gay man to do what he really just, he paved the way in a lot of aspects. And I love him. And I love RuPaul's Drag Race.
Yeah, that's a great answer. Great answer. And I also saw just very, very quickly that I saw that Black Lives Matter on your Instagram as well. So that's great cause. I love how you sort of show that as well. That's very, very important. Yeah. All right, Emily. Amazing talent.
Thank you.
Beautiful person. Great to talk to. All the best for 2021. I don't know, like I said before, I don't know where you're going to sleep or eat. It's going to be all projects but yeah, good luck for the future, and keep making people happy, and come to Australia.
I will. I have to call you.
Yes, I'll show you around. Okay. Let's pet a kangaroo and a koala.
I love it. Thank you. I had a really great time.
All right, Emily. Thanks for your time.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.